The chosen ones awaken your spirit. People you strive to bury could just be seeds. So be cautious in psychology. Scupophobia, the anxiety of being watched, is an intriguing phenomenon. But here's a twist. What if the people around you are afraid of what you will become? Rather than your gaze, your enemy saw another side of you. Someone who is unstoppable, invincible, and destined for greater than the person they mocked, ignored, or devalued. They're having difficulties sleeping, holding their crystals, and browsing Google for methods to reverse karma. Why? Because, against logic and expectation, the selected ones emerge discreetly, without making an announcement. How about their adversaries? They had predicted it before you did. What did they observe? They sought to extinguish the fire inside you. They believed that brilliance would never emerge. They now realize that you are the storm. They cannot escape. Let's look at this further. First and foremost, your rivals saw your potential before you did, long before you ever realized it in yourself. Your opponents saw something in you. It represented the undeniable strength of what you might become. Not only your potential, they could see the enthusiasm you had, even if you felt stuck, uncertain, or doubted your abilities. Being picked isn't always based on looks. It is about the energy that comes from inside, frequently before you're even aware it exists. Your opponents despised you because of the danger you represented, not because of who you were in the moment. They could tell you were different from the rest. They saw how life seemed to bend and shape itself around you, and how even your failures were setups rather than long-term happenings. They were terrified because it seemed that you had an invisible mark of destiny. You didn't have to scream your goals from the rooftops or demonstrate your potential. Your energy was the only narrator. Ironically, they likely recognized your brilliance long before you did. They recognized your brilliance while you were still disputing your objective. Others sensed your might, and as a consequence, their fury and anxiety grew. They used your future to fuel their anger rather than to inspire their own personal progress. Their animosity sprang from what they lacked, not what you have. They saw your potential as a reflection of everything they were reluctant to become. They sought to disparage you, distract your focus, or stir others against you as a result of this. The truth is, however, that the exact vision that terrified them is what will cement your reputation as a terrific person. You've only just started. Number 2, how they perceived you revealed their weakness. When your attacker looked at you, they identified not just your potential, but also their own weaknesses. You became into an inevitable mirror, reflecting all of their failures, anxieties, and fast cuts. They felt uncomfortable simply being around you since it reminded them of the labor they wouldn't do for themselves. Simply being you was enough to separate them. You did not need to talk or move. It went beyond jealousy. Envy is a purely superficial feeling. This was more deep. It was discovering that you have qualities that others couldn't match, such as tenacity, honesty, and purpose. What they desired but were reluctant to develop. They saw you were injured. They knew deep down that they had the same opportunities. However, they chose to stay stagnant while you continued to progress. That's why it hurt. It was not about you. It was about them. This is why they were furious, spiteful, and determined to harm you. You reminded them of their fragility. You showed them the terrible realities, sacrifices, and discipline that they were avoiding in their own lives. They turned their fear into anger rather than acknowledging and learning from their pain. They reasoned that reducing your light would make their shadows less obvious. The problem is that light always triumphs. They cannot ignore the truth, no matter how much they try to distract themselves with noise, drama, or efforts to discredit you. They've given up on their own path because they've been so focused on yours, and that's what will eventually set you apart. They were your opponent because of their weakness, but your strength will carry you through whether or not they approve of you. Third, you are the exception, not the norm. Your opponents despise you because you are unlike the rest. Whether you wanted it or not, you have always stood out in a world full of people trying to fit in. You've been carving your own path, even when it felt lonely, whilst others are satisfied with following trends, mimicking what's popular, or seeking praise. You are the exception because of this. You redefine greatness based on your own criteria rather than just strive for it. They will never understand it either. The thing that worries them the most is how simple it seems. Your life has not been easy at all. They have no idea what you're fighting about. You utilize them as fuel, not as a means of breaking you. No one is more resilient than you. Even when the odds are stacked against you, you thrive rather than just survive. This is what differentiates you. You're not vying for someone else's approval or time period. You have a far greater purpose in mind. They are aware that they cannot equal that. They dislike you because they feel success is unavoidable for you, not because you are trying to get it. Their regulations vary from yours. They know you're generating something completely fresh that they can't access or replicate. After spending so much time trying to climb ladders and kiss the right hands, the trouble with being the exception is that you don't need their games, systems, or acceptance, and they know it in their hearts. They recognize that you are having an impact as they compete for attention. You're on a mission while they're feuding. They understand that you will continue to advance because it is your destiny, not because you are trying to outperform them. The discovery has left them profoundly shocked. You were so good at being invisible that they misunderstood you. You've always understood how effective it is to move discreetly. You kept quiet while others yelled out their goals, sought praise, and flaunted their unfinished work. You didn't need a throng to defend your route, nor did you need accolades to keep going. Rather, you worked tirelessly in the dark, away from the clamor, refining your craft and preparing for the day you would emerge. You were great at it. You were aware that the most dangerous situations are not those you expect. Rather, they are the ones you don't expect. Your opponents interpret your tranquil attitude as weakness because you let them to. When people looked at you, they saw a regular person. There was nothing you thought you had to prove. You were perfecting your skills, laying the framework, and growing into the force you were supposed to be. While others were underestimating you, they are now scrambling. Your ascension was undeniably sudden, rather than steady or predictable. It cleared all of their misconceptions about you. Your obscurity has the benefit of undermining their arrogance. They felt there was nothing to prepare for. As a result, they never expected someone like you. However, you used your time with purpose. Some wars are won before they are fought, and you understood this as you secretly positioned yourself to win the battle. You gave them the sense that they had control. They now have to admit that they never saw you coming. As people observe, you assert your authority. The issue with individuals who become invisible is that their brightness is more than just brilliant. It's blinding. Your arrival was unexpected, but yet unavoidable. You have proved that quiet may sometimes result in the greatest victory. Number 5. Their image of you served as a warning, not just a prediction. It was no coincidence that your foes saw you, whether via dreams, intuition, or fleeting glimpses of reality. The universe was telling them, quietly yet undeniably, here is the one who will challenge your throne. They ignored the warning instead of taking it seriously. Maybe they thought their position was invincible. Perhaps it was a mix of arrogance and denial. They are now paying the price for whatever reason they decided to ignore what was in front of them. Warnings from the universe are not taken lightly. They had a premonition of your consent, not a whim or unreasonable concern. They were looking at what would happen if they did not prepare, rather than what may happen. However, the problem with individuals who believe they are untouchable is that they do not believe warnings are applicable to them. As a result, they spent their energy by seeking to undermine, discredit, or pretend you did not exist. Rather than being prepared for your arrival, the moment they rejected that vision, they began to disintegrate. They misjudged its cosmic weight. That warning foretold a shift in power, a shifting of the equilibrium. And it wasn't just about you. You were here to accomplish something much greater than any of you, not only to face them, and it was unstoppable, regardless of the opponents. They are starting to realize the truth. Every hunch and warning they ignored is now coming back to haunt them. The rise they feared is unfolding in front of them. What about irony? They had time to prepare. The universe gave them a glimpse of what lied ahead, not as a kind of punishment, but as a chance for development and transformation. Rather, they rejected the inevitable, and now they are left to see the very catastrophe they dreaded. Number 6. Ancestral power and divine timing combine in you. You are the product of generations, not a single person. Your power came from the resilience, wisdom, and unfulfilled potential handed down through centuries, not from you. Your enemies are fighting against history, not just against you. Those that come before you, those who struggled, fought, and dreamed to make it possible for someone like you to exist, are the ones who direct every step you take. You are invincible due to the exact alignment of divine time, not your own might. The universe ensured that you arrived at the precise time when the world needed someone like you. This affects your enemies, even if they are unaware of it. That is why they can't explain their obsession with stopping you or their fear of you. They are threatened not just by you, but also by the values you represent. Knowing that you would one day rise to carry on their legacy, your predecessors planted the seeds of greatness inside you. And you've succeeded. You have turned the sorrow, knowledge, and tenacity of those who came before you into something that cannot be stopped. This is what differentiates you. You are breaking the chains and achieving the dreams of individuals who cannot simply fight for themselves. Your enemies cannot equal such power. They are used to battling against individuals rather than traditions. They are used to managing situations rather than challenging divine timing. They will lose as a consequence. They had no idea how strong you were, and any attempts to stop you would only highlight the importance of your climb. You are here for a purpose, and no amount of resistance will change that. Number 7. Since they thrive in darkness, they are scared of your brightness. They detest you because your very existence disrupts the perfectly created mask they live behind. Not because you have personally injured them. They thrive in environments where there is no obligation, in shadows and half-truths. But your brilliance is the polar opposite. It's tough to ignore, relentless and unrepentant. It forces them to confront the deceptions they have been telling themselves and others in order to maintain their feeling of control. Even if you never say another word, your presence shows what they were hiding. This is the power of light. It reveals everything, both true and phony, good and evil. And it terrifies them because you've embraced sincerity while they've become used to operating in the shadows and pretending to be someone they're not. You don't mind being accepted for who you are, flaws and all. That level of truth is too much for them to handle, because it requires a level of reflection that they are not ready for. They sense it. You don't even need to shout them out once you enter a room. They wiggle because your energy reminds them of everything they want to avoid. They are terrified of you because they know that your honesty will cause their carefully crafted mask to crumble. Not only do you radiate brightly, but you also make it difficult for others to hide their sadness. But this is not your issue. It is their concern. You shine because it is who you are. Avoid exposing others. They've been carrying that anxiety with you all along. It has nothing to do with how you made them feel. You merely make it more difficult for them to avoid you. And there is the brilliance of your brightness. It forces individuals to confront their own dark sides while also lighting their surroundings. You will continue to shine regardless of whether others rise to the challenge or retreat into the shadows. Number 8. Your energy altered their direction. Everything started to alter the moment they learn about you, including their objectives, confidence, and feeling of control. Everything began to break apart. Your energy was already working against them, even if they were ignorant of it at the time. Your very presence shattered the foundation of everything they were trying to build. You did not have to do anything. This is how the universe operates. It's no surprise that once a selected person enters the scene, the energy around them starts to rebalance. Whether purposefully or not, their enemies notice the shift. Their techniques are no longer as successful as they previously were. Their alliances begin to disintegrate. They lose speed. Why? Because space is being made in the universe for the chosen one to take their rightful place. Your rivals sealed their own death the moment they sought to combat you, even if they were unconscious of it. Every action they took against you just helped to redirect energy in your direction, strengthening you and getting you closer to your goal. They were left floundering in the meanwhile, unable to figure out why their conventional techniques were failing. Not only did your presence disrupt their plans, but it also exposed their faults. Anything built on falsehoods or dishonesty cannot withstand the spirit of truth and harmony that you provide. Even if they couldn't voice it, they knew it since their environment was never meant to cope with someone like you. it started to break apart? The answer is easy. You. They are presently trapped trying to figure out what went wrong. Your energy was a declaration that their time at the top was over. This is more than just a disruption. What about irony? Nothing required to be done on your end, since it always works for those that are picked. The universe was on your side. Number 9. They don't comprehend you because you are a contradiction. They recognize something about you that transcends classification. They are quite upset with you since you are not what they expected. They are used to people who are either self-confident or humble, but not both. They've never encountered quiet might, but they have heard thunderous force. You are a conundrum, combining features they did not think were compatible. They underestimate you because you are humble. Nonetheless, they are taken off guard by your strength. Your weakness disarms them, but your resilience leaves them speechless. You are merely being yourself. You're not pretending to be someone else. And this is exactly what makes them shaky. They fail to see that your complexity is an essential element of who you are, rather than merely a veneer. You've gone through enough to realize that depth does not have to be seen, and strength does not have to shout. Their loudest noise is less meaningful than your silence. They are unable to recognize, classify, or predict your future behavior. You constantly do something that completely challenges their preconceived notions. Just when people believe they understand you, your whole existence throws them off. Not only by what you do, they have no notion how to deal with someone who is both innovative and grounded, friendly, but impenetrable. You are so powerful because you embody everything they never dreamed. You're out there developing, flourishing, and exceeding all expectations while they're busy trying to comprehend you. They can't understand you because they've never encountered anybody like you and are unlikely to meet anyone like you again. The beauty of being a contradiction is that you don't have to adhere to their expectations, since your mission is to rewrite them rather than meet them. They see in you what they cannot develop in themselves. Your opponents not only dislike you, but they are more jealous of your change than of your things. You exemplify persistence, discipline, and advancement. They are continually reminded of the opportunities they have missed. When people look at you, they realize how little work they put in and how much potential they let slip away. It eats away at them to know that you were the path they might have taken but decided not to. Despite taking shortcuts, they had the same options as you. You were willing to devote the time and effort required to become an expert in your profession, but others preferred instant gratification. You faced pain straight on, whereas others avoided it. You pushed yourself to be remarkable when others settled for mediocrity. It is not by luck that you are separated from them. However, the choices you make are what disturbs them the most. They are insulted not just by your success, but also by the path you traveled to get there. When they see the discipline you've established, it reminds them of everything they decided not to do. You've made sacrifices and achieved progress. They had the choice of changing, but they chose to stay unaltered. It hurts in ways they can't even admit to themselves. They now have to watch you enjoy the results of your effort. Your detractors despise you because you are proof that they might have been different, not because you are unique. It's never about you when someone tries to pull you down. Rather, it is about their unwillingness to acknowledge their own mistakes. They see a version of themselves in you that they were too afraid to be, and they will always have to confront that reality. They attempted to modify destiny by their assaults, but were unsuccessful. Your opponent's pursuit of you was driven by more than just jealousy or pettiness. Rather, they were aiming to impede something much more important: your destiny. They felt they could stop what was about to happen by impeding your progress, undermining your efforts, or ruining your name. However, destiny cannot be changed, modified, or rewritten. It is a force that opposes plans, no matter how well planned out they are. Their strikes strengthen you rather than weakening you. Every effort to put you down merely added fuel to your fire. All they did was teach you to endure, even though they thought they were breaking you. Every impediment they placed in your road acted as a springboard to something greater. Even if they thought they were blocking you, their actions really helped you continue on your course rather than derail you. They didn't comprehend that religion isn't frail. It does not falter in the face of opposition or crumble under pressure. It thrives on resistance. If anything, your rivals misjudged the energy that was leading you. They thought they were fighting you. But in truth, they were fighting against a much more powerful force that they couldn't completely comprehend. Eventually, they were going to fail you. You not only survived, but thrived in spite of their assaults. They are now forced to accept the fact that they were never in control while watching you climb. Regardless of the resistance, fate was always on your side.